Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. We are in the first of four plays. This is the Silver King. We're in Act 1, Scene 2. The scene is entitled Flying Deficiency. It begins with the narrator, Michael, who is the Silver King's son. Stanley received his pilot classification notice on January 20th, 1943, after 9 days of fitness and education tests at the Army Air Force's Classification Center in Nashville, Tennessee. Over the moon, he writes home about his next stop. Pre-flight school sent him to Maxwell Field in Montgomery, Alabama. He's a day trip ride from Birmingham and his family. 800 men, potential pilots, have traveled from the Nashville facility to Maxwell. 9 weeks will determine their readiness. It's square meals, yes sir, courses in code, recognition, and math. Up at 0500, lights out at 2130. Stanley, with a job, joy, and demerits, has a visit from his parents who deliver a cake from Ida May, the family housekeeper, a woman who raised him, on March 1st. He scores 90 in physics, 95 in naval forces, and awaits his next post. He wrote 27 Maxwell Field letters in 31 days. His February 25th letter began on a typewriter. 100 days after his pilot classification and final 10-hour check rider day, he is reassigned for flying deficiency. The 24 days before washout are full. It begins with a 21-hour train ride from Montgomery. The Lodwick School of Aeronautics, built in 1939, is a dream setting. Fresh construction with a lake, pool, and beautiful mess hall girls. He meets Betsy, a WAC from Tampa. Love happens in a pattern that will follow the Silver King throughout North America and Europe. Stanley's instructor, Captain Hayes, has 5 students. He flies his first solo on April 22nd, 1 day before his 20th birthday. The solo is his day of days, the greatest thing in the world. He wrote 2 letters that day to describe it. One to his father, Milton, in Birmingham, and one to his mother, Sarah Bell, and his sister, Leona Bernstein, at 2244 Kenilworth Avenue in Wilmette, Illinois. Stanley was a student pilot at the Lodwick School of Aeronautics, the 60th Army Air Force Flying Training Detachment in Lakeland, Florida. This was a new private facility under U.S. Army Air Force's contract. The demand for pilots to fly 4- and 2-engine bombers was beyond the Air Corps' training capacity. The early pilot training washout rate was high at 75%. 24 days from God's country to failure and hell was not in Stanley's dreams. He will return to Nashville for reassignment. This is a terrifying segment in Stanley's commitment to his war. The context for this extraordinary roiling is about how to serve the country and make his family proud. The elusive dream of Air Corps pilot wings has become quite dark and damaging. There is hope, too. Stanley knew by May 12th that his 30-hour return train ride to Nashville from Florida for reclassification was just an interval before bombardier or navigation school. His scores meant he would not be an Army private and fight in the grinding ground war. Michael reads his father's first letter from Florida, a joyful, hopeful description on Sunday, April 4th, 1943. Dearest ones, I am in God's country, and I do mean God's country. If anyone had told me the Army would be like this, or if a place like this even existed, I would have called them a liar. It is absolutely a paradise, but that's just putting it mildly. I don't know how to begin to describe it to you. It would be impossible to really paint you a picture in words. You'd have to see it to really appreciate it. Then you wouldn't believe your eyes. I'm going to try as best I know how to tell you about this heaven on earth. First of all, there is only a little over 300 cadets here. Consequently, it's not a large place. Only 3 barracks, 1 mess hall, an administration building, and, of course, planes and hangars. The real beauty of the place is in its layout. It's built about 100 yards off a beautiful lake with palm trees scattered all over. The buildings are all modern, having been built in 1939, so it is all practically new. Even the bathrooms are finished in tile, green tile. Honest, it's marvelous. Besides, we don't have to do any cleaning up whatsoever, not even our rooms. All we have to do is make up our bunks and put away our clothes. Civilians do the rest. And last but hardly least, women, beautiful white girls, serve us in the mess hall. Believe me, I could rave on forever and still not do the place justice. It's from another world. I haven't done any flying yet. That will come tomorrow or Tuesday. At present, we're getting plenty of lectures. After seeing this place, I feel I can fly any plane, and I am going to prove it. The trip down was swell. We came all the way in Pullmans. That was something. We left Maxwell Friday around 5 p.m. and arrived here yesterday at 2 p.m. It wasn't tiresome at all with the Pullman. Don't write me until I write you again. I haven't been assigned to a flight yet, so my address isn't complete. I'll probably know more by tomorrow. I feel swell. I guess it's the climate together with this wonderful life. The weather is gorgeous. Keep well and take care of yourselves. Love to Ida. I love and miss you, Stan. Air Cadet Silverfield, Flight C-43I, Lodwick School of Aeronautics, 60th Army Air Force's Flying Training Detachment, Lakeland, Florida. And Michael observing his father as a young man. The Silver King was resolute and resourceful. His writing was remarkable, deep, hopeful, and real. He wasn't naive, just young. He imagined a heroic role, and his washout was heartbreaking to read. His 24 days of pilot school became a story of serious intent and focus. He wrote 23 letters from April 4th to April 28th, 1943. He flew solo the day before he turned 20. 8 days later, he was done. Michael reads a letter dated Thursday, April 22nd, 1943, from Lakeland, Florida. Dearest ones, today was the day of days I had my first solo flight. I think I'm about the happiest fellow alive. I knew I was about ready for it, but wasn't sure when it would come. Anyhow, this morning we took off in the usual manner without any word of solo. We went directly to the auxiliary field and shot 5 landings. He must have been satisfied with the way I was handling the ship, because as we taxied back, he started giving me last-minute instructions. His actual words, when he stopped the ship to get out, were, "I think you can do it. Now show me." Well, you can imagine how I felt. Remember how excited I was when Dad let me have the car alone for the first time? My heart was beating a mile a minute, and I felt as weak as a baby. It's really hard to describe my exact feelings. I taxied out to take off, took a deep breath, shouted on the top of my lungs, and gave it the gun. As I felt the ship leave the ground, I knew everything was up to me. That old familiar head and voice wasn't there to correct my errors. I was the only pilot. My pattern around the field was perfect. I kept my altitude all the way. But my landing was really something. It was undoubtedly the worst I've ever done. I leveled off too far above the ground. Consequently, I hit with a big bounce. My left wing went way down, and the ship started to circle to the right. I finally straightened it out by giving it full rudder. They call this maneuver a ground loop. It's the one thing you aren't supposed to do. Of course, I was scared to death, as I just knew that would be the end of my flying career. I taxied back up to where Hayes was waiting, and believe it or not, he had a smile on from ear to ear. He said, "Now relax and take it easy. I know you can do better than that. take it around again. That was such a relief and such an encouragement that my next 2 landings were perfect. All in all, I had 3 landings for a total of 17 minutes solo. My confidence is bursting over the top. I know for sure I can fly a plane. I'm ready for the check ride now, as my instructor knows I can fly, and I know I can fly. When I got back to the barracks, the fellows threw me in the shower, clothes and all. It's a tradition to shower the fellows after their first solo. Believe me, that was one shower I was most happy to take. No more news for now. I must write Dad the good news. I hope he'll be as proud as I am. Please write soon. Lots of love to everyone. I love and miss you, Stan. And Michael, commenting, proud of his father, but knowing his grandmother for a brief time. Ironically, his mother, Sarah Bell, didn't want Stanley to fly. She read the war stories, knew young men never returned from darkness. His despair became her delight, and this theme, mother and son conflict, resonated throughout his war. Humorous without horror, their battles raged over women, words, and wisdom. And his early failure haunted him and challenged the idea of being a warrior on the rise. As the lights go up on this scene, Stanley and his check writer, L.A. Burns, sit in the PT-17 cockpit. They have landed and taxied to the flight deck hangar. The tight space is silent, and the Silver King begins. Well, Captain, sir, how did I do? What's my rating? Will I fly? And check writer, Captain Burns, looking at the cadet. Air Cadet Silverfield, I'm afraid not. You are a washout. I respect your skills, but you do not have the coordination, command, or control to be an Air Corps pilot. Your rating is flying deficiency, certified correct by me today. And the Silver King, obviously despondent. Sir, respectfully, sir, I am ready to be an Air Corps pilot. I have the ability to fly the plane. Captain Hayes taught me well, really. He said I was ready for it. And check writer L.A. Burns. That may be true, Cadet Silverfield, but not today, and not on my sheet. You're done. Good luck, Cadet. And the King, after a long pause, looking at Captain Burns. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good day, sir. As the lights go down on this scene, there is silence as the King and the captain remain in the cockpit. Stanley pulls a Lucky Strikes pack and a lighter from his flight jacket. He offers one to Captain Burns and strikes his Ronson. Smoke rises, dreams drift and disappear. Michael reads a heartbreaking letter that his father wrote on Wednesday, April 28, 1943, from Lakeland, Florida. Dearest ones, had my 10-hour check today and flunked it. I'm through. Washed out. The check writer said I didn't have enough coordination. That's a laugh. I don't know what will happen now and don't give a damn. Don't feel like writing anymore. Write Dad the swell news. I haven't got the heart. Love, Stan. And this is Michael, knowing that there is hope ahead for the King. Yes, the Silver King had heart. It was huge, compassionate, and loving. He was deeply hurt as dreams became despair. He was 20 and despondent. But Stanley rose from a dark personal bottom over the next 12 months to fly America's skies as he prepares for his war. His journey over a literal American landscape, from Florida to California, was similar to those of other young warriors searching for purpose and place in the nation's effort. This is the end of Scene 2, Flying Deficiency, in The Silver King. and you are listening to the Silver Kings War.